And it's funny, just to go on that point a little bit, is like, I remember, like, there's so many businesses now that, like, bars and stuff. And I believe that this is true. There's a lot of, like, it's like, no good story starts with a salad.
I agree. I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I got millions of great stories that definitely don't start with a salad. Yeah. But anyways.
I used to say I will never trust on someone who doesn't drink a beer.
Yeah.
So look at me right now. So anyways.
I know.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome to another episode of the ROI Mindset Podcast. My name is Murilo Tavares, your host. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Steve Watts, the owner of the Mainland Whisky located in South Surrey, British Columbia. So thank you for coming over.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Something that everybody probably would like to know is, how did you start Mainland Whisky? So I heard it starts from a bunker and a dream. So you can let us know more about this journey. So how did
it started a little bit before that. So I'm Canadian. I was born in Ottawa. At a young age, my mother, who was a nurse, got an opportunity to move to South Texas to be a nurse at a hospital, at Edinburgh Hospital. And me and my sister went with her. So when I was a kid, so I grew up in South Texas. And one of my good friends, his name was Eric. His parents lived on a grapefruit ranch a few miles away from where I lived, in a little place called Mission, Texas. And we became friends. He would host these little parties at his ranch, like kind of like bush parties, but all over his ranch. But one day we're on the porch, and there's probably about, 6, 7 people there. We're having a good time. We're playing music out on the porch, and we're drinking bush beer from a can. And it's fun. And there's, like, guys and girls, and, I'm 17 years old. And all of a sudden his brother comes home, and his brother's a little bit older. I think 3 or 4 years older. And his name is George. And he comes home and says hello to us. And then he leaves, and he goes into his shed, and he comes out of the shed with this unit. It looked like a big pot. And he puts the pot down on the ground, and he starts filling this pot with like an amberish liquid, and closes the pot. And then he starts attaching this like copper pipe to it. And he has like this refrigerator coil, and he attaches that to the end of the pipe.
Interesting.
And then he puts this whole unit on a propane burner, and he puts the refrigerator coil in a bucket of ice, and it's all set up, and he lights it on fire. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I hope you're not making meth. And so I go over to George, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, well, in about an hour, we'll be drinking whiskey.
Wow.
And I was like, that's so cool. And then he starts explaining. He's like, this is like a moonshine still, right? There's a corn mash inside. And in about an hour, the party kind of stopped. We surround the still, and it starts spitting out this like white liquid. And at first I was like, well, that's not whiskey, right? What's that? He's like, all spirit starts off white. It doesn't matter if it's whiskey or rum or tequila or obviously vodka. It all starts out white. And so he started explaining to us what was going on, right? You can't drink this, like the stuff that's spit out right at the beginning. That's called 4 shots. It's full of methanol. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go blind. And then as we kind of went through the process, he takes a mason jar, and he's like, this stuff we can drink. And he shakes it. He like closes it off. He shakes it. He's like, do you see the size of the bubbles? I know that's 120 proof. I was like,
wow.
What? 120? How do you know that? He's like, I just know by the size of the bubbles. And that means 120 proof is 60% alcohol. And so he opens it up, and he passes around, and we're drinking moonshine on a grapefruit ranch. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. So I asked him, I'm like, can you teach me how to do this? He's like, yeah, just come on over on the weekends. I do it every weekend. And so
that's it.
Yeah, probably about 2 weeks later, I went over for the first time, and it was me and Eric and George, and we were making corn mashes. And probably for the rest of the year, I was like, almost every single weekend I would go to this homestead, this grapefruit orchard or ranch, and we would make whiskey.
And at what point did this stop being a passion product, or you were doing this for fun, and become a company?
Yeah, so from that, that's basically the beginning. And from that, I moved back to Canada. I didn't have a green card, so I wanted to go to school, but I couldn't afford to pay, foreign student status in Texas or at some other universities that I applied to. So I moved back to Canada. Went to school, University of Waterloo. So 4 years of that. And while I'm going to school, I'm kind of like having fun. I'd bring out a little moonshine still at parties. So I was still distilling. But then I ended up moving, so 4 years at University of Waterloo, and then I moved to Vancouver because I got into acting school because I wanted to be an actor. And so that was when, after I became an actor, I started working at bars because I'm not Brad Pitt. I needed a second job. I became a bartender. And as I was a bartender, and I really enjoyed it, I started to see the craft beer movement happen, right?
Okay.
So it was like 2012, 2013, something like that. Yeah, I think so. But I had my first Fat Tug, and I was like, oh, shit, this is good.
Right.
But it reminded me of what happened in the States as well, with Lagunitas and Sierra Nevada and all that stuff. And what happened afterwards was the rise of the craft spirit movement. And so I thought, hey, if I could find some money, maybe I could start my own business, because I don't think I want to be a bartender for the rest of my life. And acting was fun when you get jobs, but it was highly competitive.
Quite unstable, to say, right?
Yeah, like I think 1% of actors actually are full-time actors. And I knew a couple of them, but the process of auditioning to get the work for the week or the work for the month, or the day, I didn't like that. I didn't like that job. I wasn't into it. So I was like, I want to do something else. And I really had only one other skill, which was making whiskey. And so I thought, if I could somehow raise some money, then I could maybe start this business. And so that's basically what happened. So I'm a bartender. I couldn't find any money downtown. I wasn't mature enough. I end up getting married as well. So I got married to my lovely wife, and we had a kid, and she was about 2 years old. And we ended up moving to South Surrey. My wife got a job there. I was no longer working at the bar. Actually, I was working part-time at the bar, but I was also doing events. So I was doing like tech events across the country. And I was kind of tired of that. So I was more of a stay-at-home dad at that time. And I went back to kind of part-time bartending, and I worked at a place called The Wag on White Rock Beach. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was part-time like Fridays, every Friday, but I was a part-time, like I was a stay-at-home dad basically.
Okay.
And it was fantastic, but that's kind of was the beginning where I was like, okay, I'm going to make a go of it. So I started distilling almost every day in my garage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Using all the techniques you learn in Texas.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So I found a corn supplier. I had probably about 3 different stills. So one really small one, it was like a 4-gallon still, but then I bought like a large still, like over 100-liter still. And so I started trying to figure out this scaling factor, right? And then one day I'm at work and pouring drinks, and my boss comes over to me and he's like, hey, I hear you make whiskey. I was like, who told you that? What are you talking about? And he said, I'd love to try it. I said, okay. And so he had actually a little barrel that somebody had given him. And it was empty, and it was actually a brand new white American oak, freshly charred barrel. It was 2 liters, and it had the Wag on it. And so I took that barrel, he gave me the barrel, and I filled it. And I said, let's just wait until it's ready. So it'll be about a month, and then I'll bring it back. He's like, okay. So I filled the barrel, and I brought it back, and he tasted it, and he's like, wow, that's really good. If you start a business, I'll invest. I was like, okay.
What?
Yeah.
Like that, the first
like
person, the first investor.
Yeah, so he was an entrepreneur. So they own about 4 restaurants.
They saw potential.
They saw potential. They liked me. They liked my personality. I was very good behind the bar. I was a very good communicator, to a point. And we became very good friends. And I think he was like, if you do this, I'd love to be a part of it. And I think also at that time, maybe there was like a business mind from him where it's like, maybe he can make me alcohol and I can sell it and I can make money off this deal too, yeah. Right? So that was a part of it as well. But
he would be a distributor probably, right? Yeah,
like he could get my stuff into his restaurants and maybe at a lower price so that he can kind of maximize his profit on it, which kind of worked a little bit. Like I'm at his restaurants, but it costs a lot of money to make a craft whiskey. But anyways, so the next stage was there's other regulars that heard about it as well. And this all happened at the WAG. And so there was 2 regulars in particular that wanted to try it, and they tried it and they're like, this is fantastic. And what they said, they had a business on White Rock Beach. Unfortunately, it's no longer there because of COVID, but it was like a marketing company as well. And they basically said, I want you to come to our spot on White Rock Beach, and I want you to throw a pitch party. Mm-hmm. It's like a fundraising party. So you do a presentation, we'll cater it, we'll get a blues band, and we'll see if you can raise some money. And I said, oh, that's cool. Let's do it. And
Next level, right?
Yeah, like set up a moonshine bar. So that's what we did. So I had like 3 products at the beginning. I had just corn whiskey, like unaged corn whiskey, like moonshine. We made a wild rose whiskey liqueur, and then we made a cinnamon whiskey, but with no sugar. So it's just literally cinnamon and unaged whiskey. And those were our 3 products, and we made 3 different cocktails with those products. And so we set up, I did the presentation. We had like Brandon Isaac, who's a friend of mine, who's actually a Juno nominated like blues singer. Mm-hmm. Like he's just fantastic and guitar player. He played, and that night we raised $150,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was all the money that I thought we needed to raise to start Mainland Whisky. And we had the name, we had the concept. It was going to be kind of like an American style corn whiskey brand. And that kind of was the night where I was like, this is actually happening. And then we found, so going to your bunker, so that's the dream.
Right.
Going to the bunker, so basically $150,000, we started the company, incorporated, found a space where we currently are, start building.
Bought equipment, imagine.
Yeah, bought equipment. That was quite expensive, right? So started designing the bar and bringing people in, and everything was getting built. And then the city stopped us, and they said your fire code isn't, or your fire code isn't up to what it needs to be for a craft distillery. And I was never told this throughout the freaking year of, applying for permits and all that stuff, right? And so basically we needed an F1 fire code or fire rating, and we only had an F2 in that building. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, what does that entail? And it means that you need to basically build secondary walls on every single part of the whole building. So secondary walls all along the side, on top of like the roof, like everywhere, right? And I was like, how much is that going to cost me? And we kind of budgeted, and it was like millions and millions of dollars. And so I talked to my landlord. I'm like, there's got to be, he was also the project manager on it. And I said, there's got to be a solution. And so it took me 4 months to get in touch, or to actually have a meeting with the engineer who's responsible for our case. And so when, after this meeting and lots of follow-ups, we finally came up with an alternate solution. Okay. And the alternate solution is this concrete bunker. that's super explosion proof, right? So have you been to Mainland?
Not yet.
No, you haven't.
Not
okay.
Yet.
It's literally a concrete box. Everything in it is explosion proof. There's two ceilings on it. So one is concrete, one is steel. The ventilation is explosion proof. The receptacles are explosion proof. All the motors in it are explosion proof. Anything with moving parts. The tasting lounge has a big window, so you can kind of see into the lounge. It's like shatterproof glass, like bulletproof glass. And then on the top of the window, on the side of the distillery, is a big iron curtain. And then there's sprinkler heads on every single doorway.
Crazy.
And so obviously I had a budget, $150,000, which obviously my naivete, right? It's like, that's all I need.
No.
Not even close. So that room alone cost almost $500,000. And so that is when I went to my landlord and I said, look, his name's Todd Jacob. And he owned a big company, construction company, and he still actually just sold it. Nice guy. And I said, I need to find a way to raise this money. So we're just going to have to stop. Just give me like a month. And he looks at me and he's like, well, why don't we just build it and you can just pay me back whenever you want?
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I like you. Let's do it. I think you're gonna be okay. And so we did.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Because look, it feels like people trusted you
Yeah.
somehow.
I was very grateful for that. And I think it still hasn't really like, I don't know. I mean, I understand and I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. But it still hasn't registered like that luck, right? And I mean, really, I'm a pretty hard worker, and I've grinded and worked so hard, most of my life, and I'm very proud of that. But these are two instances where, wow, holy shit, like that luck element, I think really came through. Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing because you call luck, but I understand that you used to have, let's say, good people around you. How important networking was for you at the beginning? Because I think you had good friends because you used to be in the right place at the right moment, right? How important it was for your success?
I think it was absolutely huge. I mean, I don't think anybody can build anything without a support network of some sort, right? So my support network at that time, before Mainland was actually built, was the bar, right? So the WAG being kind of the first place. And then before that, all the other bars that I worked with. I was a part of some other groups, but mainly like that bar or that restaurant is where I socialized, where I met some really great friends, where I met some really great mentors in a way, and really was the catalyst that allowed me to jump from, just a worker to a business owner. Right. So yeah, without those guys, I would have never. I don't know how I would have started Mainland, because it's almost like I had the idea, I had the passion,
The skills.
I had the skills. I had the curiosity, which I think is very important, right? And the persistence.
Right.
But I didn't know how to find money, right? I had no idea. I didn't have a lot of money.
The funniest part, you were one of the first entrepreneurs that we interview here, the ROI Mindset Podcast, that didn't start funding money from the bank.
Yeah.
Right? So you had people who trust on you and make it happen.
Yeah.
Of course, your efforts, they were extremely important, but you ended up creating an ecosystem of friends and investors that are trust on you, and they gave you the money that you needed.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Do you think your skills as an actor ended up like helping you to connect with people? Like what you did in your, let's say, in your past that ended up like making people like you?
Yeah, good question. I think acting does help. It's a great communicating tool. I took my first acting course. So I went to school for engineering and then political science. But I didn't want to be an actor when I started acting. I wanted to just increase my public speaking skills because I thought that it would be very important in the future. And I actually wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to be. So, but when I started acting, when I started some acting courses, I fell in love with it. And so there's something about being open and being vulnerable that people do like, right? And I think just because you're an actor doesn't necessarily make you a good communicator, but I think I already had like the empathy. I think I had a little bit of vulnerability that I definitely had to work on. So I think those two things allowed me to be a better communicator along with the courses. And I think to your question, what did I do? I think I was just a really good listener as well. Right. So I think there's one thing about performing, and I was performing behind the bar. That's where I met kind of my first investors. But really it was more, I was willing to listen to their stories and listen to who they are and give them my perspective and give them my advice, and then, vice versa. So that was the first network that I really found beneficial within the business, was at the beginning, right? Like, not including these other business groups that I'm a part of, right? Which you are as well. So yeah, I think it's just about being open. I mean, my personality is my personality as well. So it's also like, it's like I try not to be stressed out. I try not to be an asshole. You know what I mean? I try to really like get to know people, and it's not just about like how do we do business together. It's like, who are you? Right? Who am I? Maybe our personalities can connect. Maybe we can become friends. And then if we become friends, then maybe it just kind of naturally progresses into some sort of business relationship, if that's what the relationship is geared to go towards.
Got it.
Right? So I don't think acting is acting. It allows you to perform and allows you different tools, but I also think that, and it gives you confidence. So it gives you a lot of confidence, and I think I'm a pretty confident character. But I think my personality, which I've had since I was a kid, is just like, I kind of like you and I want to get to know you. Or I don't like you and I don't really want to get to know you.
Right.
Right? And the people that I connect with, I think I connect with quite well.
Is the trust, right? Because I see the same stuff on the internet. So people buy from people, right? And what people are expecting on the internet is to see someone behind the brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to buy a whiskey just because of the logo or the bottle.
Right.
It might be good. Yeah. You might buy because the bottle is beautiful.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want to see how they manufacture that, what is inside it, right? I always say that if you're not like a Coca-Cola or a Nike, you need to put your face in front of the camera and show to your potential clients on the internet.
Yeah, right? You know what? That's a funny thing. We had a good conversation about something like that, because I am kind of the face of the brand. I mean, I have a shirt
100%,
with this guy's face on it, and he's a character I play, but he's still my face. And it's interesting because that is one perspective, but there is a point where sometimes people need to remove themselves from behind the brand, right? As a small business, like the small business, we are the business.
Exactly.
So you need to know me, right? If you like me, then you'll buy, right?
Exactly.
But also, where is the point where the owner, the founder, the co-founder, the co-owner, whatever, needs to remove himself so that we're selling the brand and not the owner. You know what I mean?
I see your point.
Yeah, because as a commodity product, like my businesses, they're commodities, right? So it's a bottle of whiskey, right? And so, yeah, my face is literally, like right now, blood, sweat, and tears in every bottle. At some point, I'll have to remove some of that blood, sweat, and tears so I can keep some of my own blood, sweat, and tears, right? So where is that fine line? But to your point, I think the more that you show of yourself at the beginning, and the more of that's what makes your product different than someone else's. Right?
Makes you stand out somehow.
Yeah, right? Yeah, absolutely. But where is the line? Where is the line?
There is this company. Have you ever heard about a brand called Happy Dad?
Happy Dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like hard seltzer?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they are YouTubers. Okay. And they launched this brand in the US. They are Canadians, by the way, but they started the brand in the US. And right now they're basically selling the company. Yeah. And Kyle is one of the masterminds behind the Happy Dad. And he said when they started the Happy Dad, they made it in a way that they would promote it. Yeah. However, they knew they would sell it in the future. So they did not use their own names on the brand. Right. So, and I think Mainland Whisky has you as the representative, right? The promoter. Yeah. And you're going the same way, because anytime you want to get away from the brand, or if you sell, or let's say you scale it in a way that you have to take your profit and sell it. Yeah. You can, right? Because for 100%. Sure, you represent it, you promote it. Yeah. But the brand is yours. Yeah. And anytime soon you can give it away, right? And let it
100%. Like Mainland Whisky is Mainland Whisky. It is its own entity. And so what we're trying to do is, I'm a promoter of it. I'm the owner 100%. Of it as well. But also, if they wanted to buy into the brand ambassador, Donnie M, then we can talk about that afterwards.
The Happy Dad case is a very nice case. I would recommend you to take a look at that.
That's really interesting. So they're Canadian. Where are they from? Here?
Yes. Kyle, he's Canadian from Toronto, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, okay.
Was a YouTuber. came from a channel called Nelk Boys. They used to film pranks.
Yeah.
They exploded,
Yeah.
right? And they ended up like launching this brand called Happy Dad.
Yeah.
But his strategy was really good since the beginning because the YouTubers, they created audience, right? And creating audience nowadays, from my perspective, is the biggest asset ever,
100%.
right? Because if you have followers, if you have people who know who you are, trust on you,
100%.
so you can sell something. And
that's the new currency, really, right?
That's
attention.
The new currency. Retention.
Our attention is
audience.
so divided that if you can get a little bit of attention, that's worth millions.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
For all our clients at Rank My Business today, we always recommend first, hey, create your audience. What is your niche, right? So what your audience is expecting from you.
Yeah.
So you need to give them back exactly what they want to hear from you,
Yeah.
right? Regardless your niche.
100%.
But long story short, Milk Boys started as a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They created a huge audience.
Yeah.
And they ended up like getting this generic name, Happy Dad, not associated to Milk Boys, not associated to their own names.
Yeah.
So right now they can stand out, they can sell the company and make like millions or billions of dollars. So.
Yeah, they were all over. I know that, especially in such a crowded seltzer marketplace, right?
Yeah.
I think they had like they're sponsoring like Joe Rogan's podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And blew up because of that as well. Like, good for them.
Yeah, they did a great job on YouTube. So
I'll have to check
creating
it out.
audience is, as you mentioned, is the biggest asset today.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think you're creating your audience, and I would like to ask you about Donnie and Whiskey.
Yes,
it's a funny character.
That's right.
Donnie sings. Donnie communicates really well, right? I love his voice, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
So, what is the purpose? So, where did Donnie come from?
Yeah, so it was actually before Mainland was started, or as we were kind of about to start this journey. Me and a friend of mine were talking about whiskey tastings and how whiskey tasting can be viewed upon as very pretentious in a way, right? Where it's like there's a guy in a suit. And he generally has a mustache or a beard. And he's like, yes, I get to cedar chips and I get despair and I get,
He's sophisticated.
He's so sophisticated, but he's very pretentious in a way. And I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if there was like someone that kind of looked like that? He's like from the 70s, but he doesn't really have a clue in some ways. Like he has a clue, but he's like the unsophisticated version of him. And he could do a whiskey tasting and he'd be like, yes. Yes, I do get cherry and oh yes, is that a bear? Yes, it smells like a bear and maybe like a water slide. It smells like a water slide. Yes. Oh, and cherries are floating down the water slide and there's a cloud and a little bunny. Oh, that's nice. And it's just like ridiculous like tasting notes.
Right.
So that was the first video that we've ever done was he's like sitting at the bar at the WAG actually and he's doing this thing about the proper way to drink whiskey.
Okay.
And from there we just found different ways to use him and he became kind of this lovable character. And I think people like him. He's hosted events. He's done events at our spot. Actually just currently we sponsored Yuck Yucks at their theater shows.
Okay.
So they did a big theater show in Delta like a month ago and Donnie M opened the show.
Oh, right.
So there's about 250 people, 300 people there. So he's going to be back at in Yuck Yucks in Abbotsford as well, March 28th. So check it out. He's funny. It's like there's kind of two things with him. I like playing him. He is a fun character. People do engage with him. Like so, he has his own little channel now because people are like you need your own channel, Donnie, and so he started his own channel. Instagram is obviously kind of the main thing, but it's like where. One thing that we are kind of looking at, like from a business perspective, it's like Donnie's fun and lovable. And we do these old-fashioned cocktails, which I think are right up his alley. And I think it pairs well with his brand because they're fun and easy. And I think one thing that we're kind of struggling with right now, or not struggling with, but we're questioning is his value when it comes to higher value whiskey, right? Because he's a bit kooky and he's a bit crazy a little bit, right? And he's a bit slapstick. So we're trying to figure out the next like Donnie 2.0 and like how he works with the mainland landscape because some of the whiskeys that we're putting out now are pretty high value. And so I think I finally understand why some of these whiskey brands are like, small letters and gold foil and, the box, and it's very serious, because somebody's going to buy that whiskey bottle for $200, and maybe they don't want a joke. Maybe they're like, I want to invest into this, and maybe it's not a joke, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where we're trying to figure out exactly where Donnie's going, and that's definitely happening right now.
Right? That would be my question. So how do you balance humor and credibility?
100%.
Right? So I think it's your main challenge right now to
huge
polish Donnie a little bit, to make it like let's say trustable, but at the same time funny, right?
Yeah. So I think one way that we're doing it is, for like, the old-fashioned cocktails are a big part of our brand right now, as our barrels are aging, and as we're filling more barrels, and as we're trying to get more old stock going. And so he's been a perfect kind of entity to promote these like ready-to-drink cocktails, because they're a little less serious, right? They're easy to use.
They're
a little more approachable. Yeah, they're
entry
level. It's approachable for people. You don't have to be a whiskey lover to like them. You can have one. You can feel very, very good, and it's a little more classy than having a beer or something like that, right? So I think that's part of the way, but also potentially him having his own podcast or something like that, right? So that's where we're kind of venturing. Where, like I was talking to you before, where we're playing with the idea of him starting a podcast called "Would You Like to Have a Drink with Me?"
Cool.
And actually, him developing these real emotions and real questions, and getting to the grit about people, and maybe it's not business focused, but it's more of like humanity focused,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
And like what's inside. Like, one thing that I like about him is he's kind of like me, right?
Pretty much.
Like he's like someone I would like to be, but I can't put that face on every day because I run a business, or I have a family, or I have to go out in public, right? And I think everybody has a mask they wear, or many masks for different occasions, and he's one of the masks that I wear when I want to have some fun, right? And I think if we kind of geared it towards that, where he's this entity for this podcast, and we want to see the real person, maybe that's where we want to go. So
lovely.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I would like a feedback from you, or maybe your perspective. A lot of people say Fireball is not even whiskey, right? So you are a specialist. I would say a scientist, right?
I am
when people say that a Fireball isn't whiskey, what are they getting right? What are they getting wrong?
Yeah, I think so. Fireball. So Fireball is an interesting concept. So Fireball is a product made by Sazerac Company. So Sazerac owns it. So Sazerac is a really interesting company. They're a huge company. We were actually just a tangent before we begin the answer. We made a product called Northern Comfort. So it was a beautiful product, all natural. We infused it with honey and pecans and different things like that. They have a product called Southern Comfort, so it was kind of like a homage, but they issued us a cease and desist. And so we had to stop making a Southern Comfort. So I really researched Sazerac just to see what they're all about.
All right.
They're huge. They're a huge company. They own Buffalo Trace for a while. I don't know if they still do. But anyways, Fireball. So Fireball started out as a cinnamon whiskey. It's a Canadian whiskey that they would add tons of sugar, glycerin, and flavorings, right? Nothing in it is real except for the Canadian whiskey at the beginning. But then it changed, right? So they added more and more glycerin and glycol and different things like that. And it got banned actually from Canada and Europe. And so they had to pull back some of the artificial ingredients in it. Propionyl glycol as well. Like the stuff that's in vapes, that was in it as well. Like just chemicals, right? Just to thicken it up. Like when you do a shot of Fireball, it's this thick, sweet, spicy thing. And it does taste like a cinnamon heart, but it was full of chemicals. So then they pulled it back. So you're allowed to buy it in Canada and in Europe again. But then what they did, what was the reasoning? So because it's a cinnamon whiskey, it's a cinnamon whiskey liqueur is actually the category in it, right? So it's not a whiskey, it's a whiskey liqueur, okay? So what they did is whiskeys can only be sold at certain places in the United States. The whiskey liqueurs. It can only be sold as, I guess, a spirit-based product. It can be sold at liquor stores, obviously. It could be sold at like shopping, like specs, like shopping, like a Costco, but it's like
grocery stores.
Grocery stores, sorry. But I don't think it could have been. It can be sold in gas stations, a spirit-based product. I think there's certain places it couldn't be sold. So what they did, and so Fireball whiskey, I think is 33%. Is it 33, or is it 40? No, it's 33% or 35%. So they had the Fireball cinnamon whiskey and liqueur, and what they decided to do is, well, there's a huge marketplace that they couldn't sell Fireball. And so what they did is they actually then made a wine-based product.
What?
Almost the exact same label, and it was called Fireball liqueur. It didn't say whiskey liqueur, it said Fireball liqueur. So it was a wine-based product, but it was only 15% or 20%, so it was lower proof. And they were then able to sell this product that looked exactly the same in all of the gas stations all across the United States. And that ended up turning into a lawsuit, right, which they lost. And I'm not really sure the outcome because they probably appealed it, and they're a huge company. But very interesting. So when you go into the United States, and it probably still happens, is you might have a Fireball product that's a cinnamon whiskey liqueur, and it'll say cinnamon whiskey liqueur with the same like devil thing on it. And then there'll be another product that looks almost identical, but it'll say cinnamon liqueur. And it's a wine-based product that's lower proof, and they both taste very similar.
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So yeah, it's not a whiskey, but in the first product, there's a Canadian whiskey in it that they bought. The second one is a wine-based product.
Fantastic explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So finally, I could understand.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what makes a whiskey?
Oh, yeah.
Is the process of producing it, is the ingredients? So what makes a whiskey, and how Mainland Whisky, what Mainland Whisky does differently?
Yeah, so whiskey. So whiskey is defined as a spirit made from grain, right? That's it. So generally, to make a spirit from grain, you need to mash it, right? You need to ferment it, and you need to distill it. And so that white stuff coming out of the still, that's a high proof alcohol, and it's made from any sort of grain. It could be corn or barley, wheat, quinoa, oats.
Really?
Doesn't matter. If it's a grain and it's defined as a grain, you can make whiskey out of that, right?
Even rice?
Rice is a grain. Yeah. So you can make a whiskey out of grain, out of rice. Japanese whiskey. There are some Japanese whiskeys that they play around with grain, right? Or play around with rice, and it's actually pretty nice. Sorghum as well. So sorghum is something that they've been experimenting with because it's gluten-free.
Okay.
Even though that really all whiskey is gluten-free because gluten can't pass through the vapor process of distillation. But anyways, so that's whiskey. So Canadian whiskey this is where it all gets kind of different, right? So Canadian whiskey has its own set of rules, right? So Canadian whiskey is, rule number one has to be made in Canada, right? So generally it has to be distilled in Canada. So mashed and distilled in Canada. The barrels, I'm not sure, I'd have to look that up, I forget, but I don't think they have to be in Canada. But I believe that a certain portion of their lives have to be in Canada, but it has to be distilled in Canada. And it has to age 3 years in small wood. So small wood means any barrel made out of wood that's under 700 liters. Mm-hmm. That's the definition. Canadian whiskey is also quite funny because you're allowed to add stuff to it, right?
Like what?
Generally, it's caramel coloring, or it could be a neutral grain spirit, or you can blend it with something else. But really, there is no definition of what you can add to it. Mm-hmm. So you're allowed to add 9.09% of the final batch of something that is not whiskey. So that is Canadian whiskey.
Interesting.
Not all Canadian products follow those rules, but the mainstream products that you see in stores follow those rules. And whiskey has to be it has to be at least 40% or higher. So in Canada, 3 years, 40%, 9.09% of it doesn't have to be whiskey.
Okay.
It's generally caramel coloring or neutral grain spirit, and distilled in Canada. Bourbon is another, like I love bourbon, has its own set of rules. Has to be aged for at least 2 years, has to be made in the United States, right? It has to be aged in brand new white American oak, freshly charred barrels. Has to go into the barrel at, I think, like 62.5% or lower. I think those are it has to be made 51% corn. So it's a corn, right?
Okay.
Where in Canada, there is no grain. So people are like, Canadian whiskey is a rye whiskey. There is no law that says you have to use rye.
Got it.
If you want to call it a Canadian rye whiskey, then 51% of it has to be rye, right? But most whiskeys, Canadian whiskeys, have different grains in them. It has some corn, has some rye, has some wheat. Yeah, so it's all over the place depending on the distillery that's making it.
Due to the fact that a whiskey to be whiskey has to be 3 years in the barrel, is that one of the main reasons whiskey is so hard to produce? Inexpensive?
Yeah, for me, it is 100%. It's super expensive. Cost me at least $5,000 to barrel whiskey.
$5,000.
Yeah, including the grain, the labor, all that stuff. Yeah.
What is your current capacity, production capacity?
My current production capacity, I could probably make about, and I haven't hit it yet, but I could probably do like 50 LAs a day, 60. I'd probably say like 1,200 LAAs a month. So LAAs is like a liter of alcohol at 100%, right? And so I can probably make about 50 to 75 a day, right?
Wow.
So that's it. So it's not a lot when you look at some of these bigger distilleries. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of LAAs a day, like just ridiculous size. Because it just goes all day long, and they're huge, right? So we're like not even 1% of some of these factories, right? So that's definitely a part of what we're trying to do in the future. So we're like, this is year 7. I hope in the next couple of years, we'll probably buy some bigger equipment and upgrade some things so that we can increase our capacity. But we're coming close, but that is definitely a part of what we want to do in the future, right?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. Talking about business, what are your first real customer acquisition channels?
Our website is probably number one. That's a big channel. Lots of people come to our website every day. Social media is huge. I mean, we're very engaged on social media. So usually when we say, hey, we have a new release, or hey, this is what's going on in our distillery, people take notice and partake. I would say number one is liquor stores, right? So we're in about 300 private liquor stores across BC. We're not in BC liquor stores. I don't know.
Why not? Interesting.
Yes. Yes. So
just
BC,
share what you can share.
Yeah, of course. So private liquor stores, and it's like you're selling to a shop, and then they like we sell a wholesale price to them, and then they're a retailer, so they're just like, increase the price and resell it. But BC liquor stores demand a very large markup. Okay, so they're a crown corporation. They're owned by the government of BC.
Okay.
And so basically what they ask is us to sell them a product at a very, very low cost. And they won't pay the wholesale cost. They'll actually pay our cost plus a very small amount. And then they mark it up about 165%. They're 160%. So the amount or the reduction of cost that we have to sell to them to actually get a listing at the BC liquor store, I would probably lose money on every single bottle. I imagine. Right? Obviously, the distribution is great, right? So you could do a spec product in a store, see how it goes, and if it works out really well, you can, volume is king at the BC liquor stores, right?
King, yeah.
But at this point in time, it's not worth taking a hit on that amount because we couldn't keep up with demand if that were to happen, and we'd lose money on every bottle. So So that's why we're not a BC liquor store. And it's really a shame because we are taking a hit by closing that marketplace off to us. But right now we're a part of the BC Craft Distillers Guild or Guild. And we've been working to try to change that kind of tax bracket, that markup, just like the BC wineries were able to solve like 10, 20 years ago. Like they have that BQA status. Those are BC wineries with BC grown grapes. And they were able to negotiate a deal where I don't have to pay all that markup. I can only pay like half of it. And so that at least they would make a little bit of money. They'd make a little bit of profit on that bottle. But as for us, we don't have anything like that.
Question for you. Might be extremely personal, but not targeting BC due to all the, let's say, the financial aspects is a strategy. However, you never consider distributing in BC only for branding, even though you know that you would be losing money.
I have considered it. I really tried to make some numbers work. We were offered, so we're with a new sales agency right now. They're called the Delft Group. They're fantastic. They've really pushed us into a lot of liquor stores in BC and, all four corners of it. We did sit down and we did run some numbers to see if it would be worth it marketing-wise. The one thing about it is if you spread yourself too thin and you don't, as a business owner, and you don't care about your margins, I think you're more likely to fail, right? So operating on volume when you don't have the capacity to operate on volume, I think might be a poor decision.
Okay.
I think making sure that your margins, like revenue is one thing. Yeah. I make $1 million in sales a year. That's really great. But if I'm losing money, if I'm spending $1.1 million, why am I in business?
Yeah.
Right. So making sure that your margins are at least big enough so that you can pay your staff and invest back into the company.
It's not sustainable. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah,
like it would be a very expensive marketing for you.
It would be hugely expensive.
I see.
Right? So if there was a way in the future where I had that opportunity again, which I think there will be, and I wouldn't be losing money, maybe not gaining money, but I wouldn't be losing money, then I would consider it. Because I think it is definitely a big game in BC. But also there's other games to try to get some of that marketing, right? I mean, like what you're doing here, right? Podcasts, social media, vying for attention. Also, are our customers at the BC liquor stores? We have to ask.
Okay.
The people that go to BC liquor stores are actually a little bit different than the people that go to private liquor stores, right? A lot of the times you go to a BC liquor stores because you're very cost conscious, right? We are not going to be the cheapest product in any liquor store, right? That's why, even though I know the owner of Liquor for Less and he's offered me some space, we are not at Liquor for Less because I don't want my brand to be in Liquor for Less because all of a sudden there's a connotation that we're cheap. We are not cheap. We use real ingredients, right? So BC liquor stores, not that it has the same kind of connotation, but it's the older fella that's going to get his 40 of Crown Royal, or it's like that guy who's going to get the 24 pack of Budweiser. Like that's a big portion of BC liquor store sales, right? The cheap wine, lots of cheap wine, your Smirnoff vodka. That's why you're going to BC liquor stores. So we really have tried to hit all the specialty private stores where it's a bit of a younger demographic, might have a little bit more disposable income, might be a little bit more knowledgeable, or might be a little bit more curious about things that are out there, right? And there's a lot of liquor stores that are geared towards that, like Coastal Spirits around here. Some of the Angry Otters, like the one in Langley, the 248, it's a beautiful store. Everything Wines that are a little bit more about education, right? They have these tastings. So those are where we put our marketing dollars when I have, myself or somebody else to go taste products or do a seminar, a whiskey tasting, those kinds of things. So, yeah.
That's really nice. So from what I could understand, Mainland Whisky is a premium whiskey. It's not the cheapest one.
No, it's
right?
not. Yeah.
It's not the most expensive one.
No, it's
right?
not. No.
It's not, let's say, the most luxurious one. Like, it's not the Rolexes of whiskeys, right?
Yeah.
However, it's not the cheapest one. It's not like a Budweiser.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Compared to the beer market. how does social media help you to generate this desire? So people who really likes whiskey, they can try your whiskey and make sure they like it.
Yeah. I mean, social media is amazing. We've been engaged since day one. I mean, kind of like what you're doing, showing the behind the scenes of how we actually make products, I think is very important. They want to see the grain, you know, they want to see the still. Is it a real still? We're not just a blending factory, right? There's a lot of distilleries in Canada that actually don't make their own spirits, that just blend. I think it's very special that we do everything. We mash, we ferment, we mill our own grain, right? And then mash, and then ferment, and then distill, and then barrel. And one thing that's very interesting is we recoup our own barrels. So we actually take BC Okanagan wine barrels, we'll open them up, we strip out all the wine in them, we put them back together. There's fresh oak on the staves. We set them on fire in our parking lot. We document that. We show you on social media. This is the char level, right? So that's one way. Like education is a big part. We started offering tours as well on site, but we also promote it on social media. But also, like, we don't want to be the pretentious brand, right? And I'm not here to tell you how to drink your whiskey. If you want to drink whiskey, whatever whiskey you buy, whether it be a $20 bottle or a $200 bottle, you want to pour some Coke in that whiskey and drink it. That is up to you, right? I'm not going to smirk or judge you. If you want to learn about the whiskey and roll it around your glass and try to figure out the tasting notes and nosing it and on the palate and the finish and all that stuff, I think that's great too, and that is up to you. And so whatever process or however you want to drink it, we're here for you. So we're kind of like I care and I'm very passionate about my product, right? I'm very proud of how we make it. I'm very proud about all the steps. And I do have some humor on social media. I want you to feel like you're having a good time. I want you to feel like you're educated enough and it doesn't matter and everybody can learn this, because they can't. If you're curious, if you like to smile, if you want to have a good time, then I think our whiskey's for you. You know what I mean? That's just, and we use social media to just show how we're feeling, from our bartenders at our tasting lounge to us in the back that are making it, to our people that go out and do tastings. Right. Donnie at Yuck Yucks, right? Donnie. Like we have a sense of humor. We're not pretentious, but we care very seriously about what we do.
Lovely. Yeah, I can see your passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still about talking about social media, what kind of social media content performs best for Mainland? Is more like educational? Is Donnie behind the scenes? So what works the best?
It has been a lot of educational stuff, like how we're doing it. But Donnie, because he looks so different, generally it's like
grabs attention.
Yeah, people watch the whole video, right? So like watch rate is definitely the longest. He's definitely unpredictable. So that kind of humor has developed us some real big fans, right? So the people that are engaged with that content, I would say, because it's different than whatever everyone else is doing, and he's a very particular kind of character. The people that do like him, they're very engaged, and they ask about him, and they want to know more, and they give me ideas about where he should go next, and those kinds of things. Like, I've done a podcast. Well, Donnie's done a podcast, and it's chaotic and it's crazy.
Next time, Donnie should.
Yeah, maybe. I'll ask him. I'll see if it's available to come on your podcast. But I would say, so that's one thing. Like the humor of it, I like it, and I think it suits certain products. And we're trying to develop exactly where to go with that. But in the meantime, I love what we're talking about even before we started this podcast today. Behind the scenes. Our Keep It Real slogan is our new slogan, Mainland Keep It Real, because we do not use artificial ingredients. Everything that we do is real. From our dancing pony, we use real pecans. Our old fashions, it's real cherry or real coffee, if it's coffee or cherry old fashioned. The whiskey has no caramel coloring. It's non-chill filtered. It just is what it is. And I think that's where some of our content is going to be going as well, where it's just raw, unfiltered shit. It might not even be edited. It'll just be like, it's real, right? Whether it's like this really high moment or really low moment or whatever it is, hopefully more victories than losses. But I think that's what people want to see. And I've started to kind of put that out there a little bit, and it seems people are engaging with it.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, of course.
We run ads at Rank My Business today, right? So we run ads for home renovation companies like I mentioned, No Republic, offices, lawyers, a bunch of niches. So what I can see as paid ads specialist is the more organic is the creative, right? Creative is what people can see. The more the campaign performs.
You're right. Okay.
So people are tired of real ads, right? When they see, and in a fraction of seconds, your brain can understand if what you're seeing is an ad or not. So for the future right now, and Facebook has been communicating with us marketers that the more organic is your content, the more engagement you're gonna get. So the more success you're gonna get. So when you talk about marketing and performance, so right now we are going back to the more organic, and we are getting away from the big production. And we create more organic ads. It tends to grab more attention, and people tend to trust more on you if you are producing the videos as you can in a more simpler way.
It's funny because I'm the same way. If I see an ad on Instagram, specifically Instagram, I feel like how dare you? And I like, even if I'm like, that's a really cool image, like, no, how dare you? Don't. But it's funny because Facebook has ads that don't look like ads now, right? So I scroll through Facebook. I don't use Facebook a lot anymore, but I know there's still a huge portion of the population that does, and a lot of our clients or customers do as well. So I'll get on there once in a while, and it's like these ads I'm like reading. It's all text now, right?
It's all text.
It's like you're reading it, and I'm like, oh, you got me. It's a freaking ad, right? I won't even see the sponsored post where it has to be a sponsored post, right? I won't even see it because I'll just like go right into it, and I'll be like, oh, you bastard, you got me.
So
it's pretty smart.
Funny thing. So, and people watching us, they can also test it out, because everything that we implement at Rank My Business today, we test. Right. So when I tell you something, it's a fact that worked because we tested multiple times. So we help a HVAC company grow here in Canada. Last year they made $300,000 in ads. So their revenue was $300,000 just from ads, generated from ads on social
that's good.
media. And we're really happy helping them to generate this revenue, especially because of our ads. We are testing a new format right now.
Okay. What is it?
He's picking a call from a customer. And we're posting this video as an ad. These ads are performing really well. So it's no longer a guy saying, hey, you should install a HVAC equipment in your house because summer is coming. So you need to make sure that your house is going to be comfortable. No, that kind of ad does not work anymore. So it's literally him picking up a call, talking to a client, and booking an appointment to a client.
Really?
So why? The customer, they want to see the experience of being your customer. Right? They want to see what happens when I go to Mainland Whisky. So who's going to be there? How does it look like? How the whiskey tastes? Like, what should I expect? If you can translate your customer experience when they visit you or when they become your customer, so you're going to attract this customer in a very more easy way.
That's genius. I love it.
And then that is one indicator that we follow in marketing, which is a CAC, customer acquisition cost, right? We notice the simpler is our ads, the simpler is the footage, the CAC, the customer acquisition cost tend to go down.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
So it doesn't. So when you have do you have a camera like this when you're shooting these videos, or is it like on your cell phone?
Some cases, cell phone work the best.
Because you kind of want to make it look raw and grainy, like it's real. As opposed to like a high performance kind of camera. I love it.
And the idea behind the scenes is also important. The equipment, not much, right? But the idea behind the scenes. So we are testing these organic phone calls for HVAC company. It's working really well. And we always are ahead on our competitors, because last year we did these big productions nobody used to do. So they ended up copying us, right? So now we see this trend. We are coming again, always ahead compared to the competitors. We are doing this kind of organic ads, and again, you're getting good results.
Yeah, you're winning.
Yeah.
Good.
They will copy us in 3 months.
Of course they will. That's what they do.
It's nice to set this trend,
Yeah.
right? And we are coming with this new, let's say, format.
Yeah.
And so far it's working really well. And I think it's applicable for your industry.
I think it's hugely applicable. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of glitz and glamour when it comes to beverage alcohol, right? It's basically who has more money, right? And that's how it's always been. But I do see the trends changing a little bit now, right? Like, and that's one thing that it's good to be like, we're small comparatively, we're super small compared to some of these giants, but we can move a lot faster, right? We could test an idea like that, like today, right?
Yeah.
Whereas those guys would have to talk to a team of like, 20 people to talk to a team of like 100 people to like get their shit together. We can operate just like that. So.
I like to use this example, like the big companies versus small companies, right? So the way I see big companies, they're a big ship.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like a big cruise.
Right.
On the other hand, small companies, they are jet skis.
Yeah.
Right? So they're way more agile.
Yeah.
So you can test more things. When you fail, you fail small. But when you see something working, especially in the digital marketing world, you make it big.
Yeah.
Because you scale fast.
That's right.
So that's the biggest advantage.
I like it. I'm like it on a surfboard, I think.
Right. That's not bad at all.
One day I'll have a jet ski.
That's funny.
I agree. That's cool.
Okay. So when you imagine the future of your company, so what makes you the proudest?
Imagine the future?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm working on a project right now. I'm super proud right now. So this is like a problem, but I'm also super proud that we have this problem is I can't barrel whiskey fast enough, right? People like our product. So I have the oldest whiskey to date just came out. It's called Tin Sandwich. It's a double barrel Canadian whiskey, 80% corn, 20% malted barley. It's 6 years old. So that's the oldest product that I have. But a lot of my like 3-year whiskeys, I've had to open up barrels that I didn't think I'd have to open up. So a big goal of mine is to open up more and more and more. So one thing that I want to do is just barrel as much as I possibly can, but I also want to barrel old stock. When I say old stock, I don't want to touch it for at least 10 years, right? So my project right now is I'm actually trying to find, and I think I found several people, but I want to barrel 12 barrels a year that are just old stock. So something that will be at least 10 years old, right? So I have right now in my whole inventory, I probably have about 30, 40 barrels. So it's not that big, but I probably have 2 that are designated for about 12 years, right? Wow. The rest are like 2-3 years old, right? And that's what they're going to be 3 years old, and I'm going to have to unbarrel them, probably, right? But I want older whiskeys just because time is valuable, right? And money is valuable, and whiskey is valuable when it's older, and that's what I want to do. And so I've actually partnered with certain people that are going to be founders of these legacy cask barrels. Okay. So they're going to buy a barrel.
They're investors, let's say.
They're investors. The barrel is theirs, right? I will insure it. They pay a premium to own it, but they can't touch it for at least 10 years.
Wow.
Probably 12 years. And then they can leave it go as far as they want. I can buy it back from them or not, because most of these are business owners, and they then can have a 12-year-old whiskey or 10-year-old whiskey or even older whiskey that they can give away to their clients, potential clients, and obviously a very valuable product, right? So that's what I'm working on right now to try to build my old stock. With the purchase of that or the investment of that barrel, then that can finance another barrel that I can also wrap into that same program.
Lovely. So, and if I want to invest on one of these barrels, like what I can do to get in touch with you?
Steve at mainlandwhisky.com, call the distillery, hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Facebook. Yeah. So, and also I'm super excited about it because there'll be 2 different options, but it will include everything from the barrel to the bottles to the labels. And then what we're going to do is for all of these people, we're going to take a bottle out of every single year. And then you can see the progression from white whiskey all the way to the dark whiskey at the end.
It's a long-term game.
It's a long-term game. Yeah. But what I like about whiskey, and it has, if you look at some of the reports, and there are people investing in whiskey now, and some of the older whiskeys are selling for very expensive. And obviously those are famous brand names, 20, 30, 40 or 50-year-old whiskeys. But there are certain whiskeys that that aren't super famous and aren't that old, and they've been selling for pretty high prices.
So Steve, I feel your game is not just selling bottles of whiskey. It's selling old barrels.
Yeah, that's a part of my game. That's definitely like finding ways to, instead of going to the bank like I did at the beginning, right? So I could go get a loan and I could just start barreling as fast as I possibly could, and that's fine. And then when it's ready, I can sell it. But one thing I do enjoy about business is having partners, right? So I have a group of partners that we started this business together, and I happen to be just the director and the leader. In this other game too, I like the idea of having more partners, right? And so they're people that are whiskey enthusiasts, people that have some disposable income, and people that want to be a part of the ride, right? And with that, we build a relationship, just like a network. There might be somebody that they know that might be interested, right? And so my network also widens.
Right.
That's what I believe is the most valuable thing here. Yeah, like selling bottles. I'm still selling bottles. Don't get me wrong.
Of course,
that's obviously
it's the foundation of your business.
Yeah, but also there's different ways to do things to kind of get what you want without having to go through the same path as everybody else.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I could talk to you like for hours, but I know your time is limited.
Yeah.
The last question is: do you see Mainland Whisky staying mainly local, or do you want it to grow into a brand recognized across Canada or even beyond? Maybe you can go back to Texas. You never know.
Yes. So yes to all that. So I guess there's two different things I've been thinking about. There might be an opportunity in the future to build a large scale distillery in Surrey or Langley, where we kind of currently are, or little offshoots like small craft distilleries. But I think building a larger distillery is probably in the cards in the next like five years, maybe 10 years, like a larger one. But I think my next immediate step is I'm working with my agency right now to get into Alberta, right?
Wow.
So we'll be in Alberta.
Producing in Alberta.
No, we'll be producing here and then shipping to Alberta. Yeah. So we'll be still in the same distillery, but we'll maximize capacity and when you're in Alberta, you're actually in Saskatchewan and Manitoba at the same time, because it's all a central. Alberta is a central liquor warehouse.
It's a hub.
Yeah, it's a hub. So it'll be Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the next step. And so those, and then BC. So those four provinces all have like a decentralized element to it. So they all have a private element to it. As soon as you go into like Ontario, unless anything changes in the next like couple of years, you have to go through the LCBO, right? And so I don't really want to go through the LCBO because it has the same markup system as the BC liquor, but there is no private system there. So you have to go through LCBO. And then same with like Quebec with the SAQ. So my next, and going down states right now doesn't make sense because of just what's going on, right? And also they make liquor at such a cheap price where it's
hard to compete.
Yeah, so I mean their taxes on liquor from the government is like a tenth of what we pay.
Wow.
Yeah, like we pay like almost $14 on an absolute liter of alcohol. They pay like 80 cents. Like it's just insane. So I guess the next move, if we're doing well in those four provinces, then I probably would look at Asia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, but remaining in Canada seems to be my priority. Move. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if anything changes. My family still lives in Texas. Texas is great. The business scene there is fantastic. Taxes are much lower. There is
but competition I think is high.
Competition is fierce, right? Yeah. So do I want to be a global brand one day? Yeah, of course. Do I want to lose all my hair? I don't know. I also still want to have fun, and I'm just going where the opportunities are taking me at this point. But I'm super happy to be where we are right now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Steve, was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I hope we keep in touch. I need to give you guys a visit.
Please
So
do.
Thank you so much for showing up here
give you a tour.
in Port Coquitlam.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a great place.
Very nice to connect with you.
Yeah, nice to connect with you too, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Cheers.
Very good. Very good.